Garrett.
Good morning, Doug. How are you today?
Good, and you?
Good. I appreciate you giving me some of your time today.
No problem.
Well, just to start, the 50th anniversary of CCR recently crossed over that milestone last year. What does that say about...
Actually this year.
This would be the official year then?
Yeah, this is from 68 to 18.
So what do you think of that number when you think about it, how it applies to not only the band, but also time in general and your life in music?
Well, it's an amazing thing, actually. In order to do that, we have to be multi-generational, which we are. We have 3 generations of fans now, more young fans and older fans. So it's in a pop medium, that's pretty amazing. So thank my lucky stars.
What does that say about the songs themselves, that they still get massive airplay?
Well, the people ask me that, of course, a lot, and we have a very unique sound, and it's because we started when we were 13.
Yeah.
So we were learning to play our instruments, and at the same time we were learning to record. That was the kind of the difference maker, especially back in those days. There were studios were far and few between. Not too many people as young as we were in any of them. So it took us 10 years before we had our first hit, but we stuck with it and stuck with the genre that we loved, and 50 years later, here we are.
Yeah. What is the legacy of CCR? I mean, I know it's kind of answers itself in terms of how good the songs are, but what's your take on it? What is the legacy?
Well, I think it's kind of a multiple thing. Back in the day, we were writing a lot of powerful songs about what was going on in the war, social change, segregation, things of that nature were crumbling, which is good. The draft and the inequities thereof, who did the fighting, who didn't. So in terms of that, we had strong messages, but in order to be able to get to the masses where it really counts, where people vote and can make change, the music had to be upbeat and kind of the opposite of what the message was. So juggling that, keeping it lively, music that when you hear it you can't not move.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting combination of the style of rock and roll that we played, which was generally about cars and girlfriends and not so deep subjects. So we were able to blend messages with good time rock and roll.
Well, it's almost like a Trojan horse kind of thing. You get the catchy riffs that pulls the people in, but you're also knocking them over the head with such incredible socially conscious lyrics.
Well, exactly, and it's somewhat subliminal, really.
Yeah.
It takes a little time for them to really understand what's being said, but by then they're already hooked into the good part, the good time part, and kind of an interesting way of doing it.
Well, sadly, a lot of the social issues that you wrote and sang about in terms of the music are still around today, and like the idea of being like nothing's the same, everything's the same kind of thing,
Well, yeah. Well, it's exactly true. When Revisited's playing, Stu gets on the mic for the introduction of "Who Will Stop the Rain," and he said, this 50 years ago, this song was about what was going on in the world, and unfortunately, it's still the same today.
Yeah.
And that's true. It makes you really wonder, especially nowadays. I mean, wow, taking several steps back in many areas of things that should not be where they are.
Are you optimistic about the future?
Well, I am an optimistic person, so I have to be. Otherwise, you're giving up, I think. But it's going to be an uphill battle. There are so many things going on. Climate change, if you don't believe it, there's climate change. You really ought to go to the library or go get on your computer and dig deep because that's one that affects not just people in America but around the world, and places that are at sea level are changing, and look at the weather, look at the fires, the drought conditions. I'm in the mountains right now, and there's a fire down the road, so we're kind of looking over our shoulder at that, and just so many things, and it's hard to explain how we got here.
Yeah, well, and there's always going to be socially conscious music made, but what really kind of bums me out as a journalist is that there's not on the mainstream or the charts music, especially rock and roll, let alone rock and roll, but music that is creating a socially conscious message, No,
it's funny you said that, because Stu and I were talking about the same thing on the last road trip. God, it's a perfect venue right now for material, and where are the messengers? What's happened, to our brethren? Why aren't they getting out there and seizing the opportunity to make change, make awareness a factor? So I don't know.
Well, it's that thing too where some people are like, well, some people in the audience don't want to hear it, but it's like, well, in essence, isn't art supposed to create dialogue,
Well, you would think so. I mean, it worked for us. Maybe they ought to try and look at the formula of Creedence.
Yeah, definitely. So you were born on April 24th, 1945, and Stu Cook was born on April 25th, 1945.
That's right.
How has being born one day apart affect or describe your friendship and your creative relationship?
Well, I'll always be older than Stu. I don't think it has anything to do with it, really. We're total opposites. So there goes, the what's your sign theory. We joke about it. We've spent many birthdays together celebrating many of them. So hopefully that'll continue.
What is that friendship? I mean, obviously it might be a loaded question, but what does that friendship mean to you that 50, 60 plus years later, even more maybe, you guys are still out there playing and still friends?
Well, why not? I mean, we've seen a lot and done a lot. Most people never get to see or even get close to. Our dreams have come true many times, and there have been disappointments and bumps in the road, but I mean that's life. So we just continue doing what we do best, and we bring this music to our fans, and looking out and seeing a lot of young fans. So it's that part's very encouraging, and it's very humbling as well.
Well, and being a musician, I would assume that it's a constant evolution. And what are you discovering these days with not only the drum kit but also your style and approach?
Well, not much really, because what I do is what I do. I mean, I'm self-taught.
Yeah.
I know one way of doing it, and it's one that's been very, very, very good to me, and natural. It's natural and honest, and it's that doesn't change. I still get adrenaline rushes when I play. That's something that when that stops, I'm done. So,
yeah.
I still love it. I still love the songs, love the fans, and keeping it simple and forthright. So not too much heavy thinking on that one. It's a natural thing, and it's what I do.
Well, at 73, how do you view life? What's your perspective these days?
It's getting shorter. So take advantage of every moment.
Yeah. Well, so I'm gonna say a couple quick names, and you say one good memory that sticks out from your career with these following names. So I'll start with Stu Cook.
Well, best bro, and down in the trenches, we're a rhythm section, and we're holding up the house.
Yeah. Tom Fogerty.
Dear friend who left us way too early.
Yeah. And last but not least, John Fogerty.
Brilliant talent, guy that's one of the best songwriters, American songwriters there is, and we've had our differences, but I'll never not respect his talent.
Yeah. Do you, I mean, obviously everyone always asks you about the reunion stuff, but beyond all that, though, have you guys talked at all, just as people get older?
No, the only time we talk is when we're suing each other, so.
Yeah.
There are some things on the horizon that might make life easier, and it looks like it's going to happen, but it has nothing to do with playing music together.
Oh, yeah. Mine was more like, as people get older, sometimes you try to, like, I guess, bury the hatchet. But
well, that's pretty. That one's not up to me, or
exactly.
Or
yeah. Is there such thing as a bad CCR song? Because I'll be damned if I can name one.
Well, I would never say there was if there was.
I can't think of one. I think it's one of those things that you can't name one.
Well, I got asked the question, was there any songs that I didn't like recording, and I came up with Ooby Dooby. So there you go. That's not that it's a bad song. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah. Where did your nickname Cosmo come from? Because I couldn't really find anything about the origin of that nickname.
I came from college. I was called Clifford C. Clifford. We lived in the animal house. We had a lot of insects and vermin, and I had a background in biology and entomology, more specifically. I was able to get rid of all the vermin in the house, and so someone at a party said, "Hey, Clifford C. Clifford, what's the C stand for?" Before I could respond, the only hippie in the house at the time said it stands for Cosmo, because he's cosmic. He's a man of nature. Poop on the shoe, here it is.
Yep.
50, 60 years later, and it's still around.
Well, my final question is, what is the life in music, creating and performing and traveling the world and interacting with people of all walks of life? What has that shown you about what it means to be a human being?
It's terrific. It's a gift, and gifts like that are not to be taken lightly and or too seriously. To have a big dream and have it come true, and then sustain itself for a lifetime is just I don't know what to say. You pinch yourself, and it's humbling. So I hope it keeps going.
Yeah. Well, Cosmo, it has been, as a music journalist, a real thrill of a lifetime to chat with you for a little while.
Well, my pleasure, Karen.